Hey 49ers fans, I'm Thomas Mott. We got a special NFL draft version of our 49ers report this week as we're going to jump right into a full 7-round 49ers mock draft. We're going to go through all of the 49ers 6 picks and tell you who I would take based off of our mock draft website, where essentially it go ahead and drafts for all the other teams. So with that in mind, before we get into this, remember, I'm not picking the best player available for every single round like a lot of websites do, where it's like, oh, it's the 4th round, well, I'm going to take this cornerback. These are the guys that are the best available based off the draft website that I use. So the draft has been automated, so who's left on the board is who I'm able to pick from. So keep that in mind whenever we're going ahead and judging this mock draft. But remember, let's start with this. 49ers have 6 overall picks in this year's draft. Obviously, number 2 overall. 2nd round, they have number 36 overall. In the 3rd round, they have 67 overall. 4th round, 104 overall. And then 2 6-rounders, 176 and 212. So again, top right into this, we'll start with the number 2 overall pick. A lot of people want to debate on who they're going to take here. Kyler Murray went number 1 overall on the online draft website that I use. So that means the best 5 available here, as you can see on the board right now, obviously, like all the good players. Quinnen Williams is there. Josh Allen from Kentucky is there. Ed Oliver from Houston is there. Devin White, the linebacker out of LSU, and Montez Sweat. Everybody's available on the board right now. Those are the 5 other people that I could have selected. But I went ahead and went with Nick Bosa, defensive end out of Ohio State. This is a no-brainer. If Nick Bosa is there at number 2, it's who the Cardinals should be taking. Now, I had a mock draft about a month ago where Nick Bosa went 1 overall to the Cardinals, so I had to take Quinnen Williams, essentially the best defensive tackle in the draft, and I think could be the best defensive player in the draft when it's all said and done. But with Murray going number 1 in this mock draft, or this automated draft website that I use, obviously, we have to go with Nick Bosa. He's the best pass rusher in the draft. He's going to be an instant impact on this defense. You're going to rotate him in there. Obviously, you went ahead and traded for D Ford. The D-line plus Nick Bosa is going to look very, very good. And, of course, he fits very well in the 49ers 4-3 defensive scheme. It just makes perfect sense, which obviously is a lot easier for me and this job I'm doing right now in creating a mock draft because it is number 2 overall. So I have my pick of the best player, and so we went with Nick Bosa. All right, moving right along, and everything after number 1 always gets tricky because these draft websites, people start getting taken either higher or lower than you expected, so then you're left with these players. So let's move right into number 2, or the 2nd round pick, number 36 overall. Here's some of the best available that I saw while I was picking. Obviously, Cody Ford, the offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, the wide receiver out of Oklahoma. Dexter Lawrence, the defensive lineman from Clemson, was still available on this draft board. Don't think he'll be there in the 2nd round, but he was there, so we throw him up on the board. Paris Campbell, the wide receiver out of Ohio State, and Justin Lane, the cornerback out of Michigan State. So, I know we need a cornerback. I know we need a wide receiver. I know we could use an offensive lineman. A lot of people are going to want to go cornerback here, but for me, the best ones were already gone. Obviously, DeAndre Baker and Greedy Williams were already gone. I didn't like the value that I saw from the other cornerbacks in the at the number 36 overall pick. So I actually went wide receiver because A.J. Brown, we'll throw him up on the board here, from Mississippi, actually fell to 36 overall for me on this draft website. So I picked A.J. Brown. And listen, for me, if he's there at number 36 overall, which might not actually happen, but if he was, I think the Niners jump all over this. They didn't get Odell Beckham. They didn't get Antonio Brown. They need help at wide receiver. And you get a guy who's 6 foot, 225 pounds. His catching ability, his catch radius is absolutely fantastic. He lacks a little bit of speed, but we kind of want that more every down receiver can go across the middle, can do the fade routes, and go get a high point the ball. He makes perfect sense at number 2 or number 2nd round, number 36 overall for the San Francisco 49ers. All right, moving right along into the 3rd round here. I need to go secondaries. What I kept telling myself, you got to have a corner or a safety by the 3rd round. So here are the best available. Taylor Rapp, the safety out of Maryland, was there. I took a good long look at him. Greg Little, the offensive tackle out of Ole Miss, was also there. David Long, the cornerback out of Michigan. Riley Ridley, the wide receiver out of Georgia, and Blake Cashman, the linebacker out of Minnesota, were all still here when I was picking. I thought about David Long from Michigan. I looked at all the cornerbacks, and it was tough not taking one. But again, for me, the cornerback value in this draft is very top-heavy. And then, of course, as soon as you start sliding down a little bit further in the later rounds, it's kind of hit or miss on these corners. Now, I do end up getting a corner eventually, but in round 3, Darnell Savage, the safety out of Maryland, was still there. It was between him and Taylor Rapp, and I went with Darnell Savage. Based off of the research that I did, he had excellent pre-draft workouts. This guy has, I think, at least 10 pre-draft visits already scheduled or that he's been going on throughout the pre-draft process. So teams are very, very interested in him and graded him as high as a number or a second-round safety. So great speed, good instincts, 52 tackles and 4 interceptions in 2018. The ball skills are all there. The size is not overly great, 5'11", 198, but that means he's able to play some nickel and do a little more in coverage. So you kind of get, a little back and forth there with your safety. And I think a modern NFL safety should be able to go up into the slot and play nickel or come into the box and help stop the run. And obviously he does the nickel part very well. So I went with Darnell Savage, the safety, help bolster that 49ers secondary in the 3rd round at number 67 overall. Let's keep going now. Number 4, the 4th round draft pick, 104 overall. It's got tough because, again, I kept telling myself I really want to go cornerback, but that's a hard way to draft because just because you want a cornerback doesn't mean that a good cornerback is still there. But I did my research. I watched the draft board. I watched people as they were picking the teams in front of me. And so the best 5 available now, David Montgomery, the running back from Iowa State, was still there. I know we don't need a running back, but if he's there in the 4th round, it's like he's probably the second best running back in this draft. So let's just say if he was there, I'd be very hard pressed not to take him. I know we don't need a running back, but all these running backs are just so young and they're like candy. Like you want to just go take every single one. But he was there, didn't take him, but he's part of our top 5 available. Will Grier, the quarterback out of West Virginia, was there as well. Obviously, you don't need a cornerback, but a lot of people have him projected as a 2nd or 3rd round draft pick, so he was still there in this draft. Max Crosby, defensive end out of Eastern Michigan, and Riley Ridley were the other 2, the wide receiver out of Georgia, the other 2 players, the best 5 available at the time of me drafting at number 104 overall. So I went with cornerback out of Washburn. Do you recognize the name? Probably not, because it's Corey Ballentine. He's actually not a big name prospect. He comes out of Washburn. He's one of those players who might be able to come out of a small school and actually start in the NFL. Great size, 5'11", 182, ran a 4.44 40 at the combine. And when you compare that up with a 5'11 cornerback, it's about the average size for a cornerback. The Greedy Williamses are like 6'2", but it's a little bit too long. They lose speed. A 4.44 is a very fast time at the NFL Combine for a cornerback. A lot of people said he could go as high as the 3rd round. So to get him here at 104 in the 4th round, to me, is a steal. It's a small school prospect, like we said, but a lot of people think he'll have a nice NFL career. Could use some cornerback help. Obviously, Richard Sherman coming off of the Achilles. You never know what's going to happen there. After we shored up the defensive line, after we got Nick Bosa, is good to go. Then really, and again, I got a wide receiver at the 2nd round as well. Then I want to go secondary, and offensive line would be my last 2 choices in terms of if I was the GM in the war room trying to pick people. But I went with Corey Ballentine in the 4th round, the quarterback out of Washburn. Okay, so Niners have no pick in the 5th round. They have 2 in the 6th round, so we had to wait and let all the other teams draft until finally 176 came around, our first of 2 in the 6th round, and here are the best 5 available. Elijah Holyfield, the running back out of Georgia, was there. Terrell Hanks, the linebacker out of New Mexico State, was also there. Ali Uda, the offensive tackle out of Elon, was there. This could really be the pick, and you could really go ahead and grab him here in the 6th round if he's there. Went to the Senior Bowl, was a good player. I didn't end up taking him, but you could kind of swap him or the guy that I did take here in the 6th round out, kind of one or the other. Jalen Hurd, the versatile wide receiver out of Baylor, was there. And then Chris Slayton, the defensive tackle out of Syracuse. All the kind of best available that I saw. Because again, it's the 6th round. I'm not an NFL draft scout. It's not like I know every single player that's going to go in these later day 3 rounds. But did our research, and so we went with Wyatt Ray, the defensive end out of Boston College. Whoa, Thomas, what are you doing? We just drafted Nick Bosa. We don't need a defensive end. Listen, in the modern NFL, it's best to have as many pass rushers as possible. And I'll give you examples why. Philadelphia 2 years ago winning the Super Bowl, the Rams this past year making it to the Super Bowl. You need a team that not only has the star powers, the starting 4 on the defensive line that are good, But when it comes to the third and fourth quarter, you need to be able to rotate these guys in and have up to 8 defensive linemen, and especially like a couple of pass rushers that you can just throw in there on a third down with fresh legs and fresh lungs and go get the quarterback. And Wyatt Ray is probably going to be a very good prospect and might not be there in the 6th round, but he was here in my mock draft. In his one starting season, 11 tackles for loss at Boston College, 9 sacks. Pretty good numbers, right? 6'3", 257 pounds, obviously the great size and a huge wingspan. I mean, the stuff that this guy has and the potential that he has, if he's there in the 6th round, the Niners would be really dumb not to take him. Obviously, if he's in the 6th round, he has flaws because he wouldn't have fallen this far. The athleticism is a little bit average, and his change of direction can sometimes not be that great. He's projected to go in the 4th round. So if he's there on day 3, and you could always add more defensive ends, I'm all for go ahead and grabbing Wyatt Ray. If you're upset about this pick, then you can just swap it with Oli Udoh, the offensive tackle out of the line. We mentioned he was available there as well if you wanted to go get an offensive lineman, but I went ahead and got Wyatt Ray. Finally, our last pick. We only have 6, right? There aren't that many to kind of go through here. 212 overall, best 5 available. Here they are on the board. Elijah Holyfield, the running back out of Georgia, obviously still there. Dakota Dixon, the safety out of Wisconsin. Benny Snell, the running back out of Kentucky. Terry Godwin, the wide receiver out of Georgia. And Lil Jordan Humphrey, also the wide receiver out of Texas. I think I drafted him at this pick last time in my mock draft. But going with someone else, I'm going with Jalen Hurd, the wide receiver out of Baylor. Now, I know that we already drafted a wide receiver in A.J. Brown, but there are going to be receivers in this year's draft that can go in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round, maybe even undrafted, that could come back and make an instant impact on the 49ers. I think they still need help at wide receiver. I'm sorry if I don't think that Jordan Matthews is our free agent signing who can play the slot. He's there in Philadelphia and Buffalo. Is the future. He's going to be a good player, but I want to get multiple players at the positions that we need. That's why I went with 2 defensive ends and now 2 wide receivers. And Jalen Hurd has all the makings to be a great wide receiver in the NFL, even if he wasn't that great in college. 6'4", 229 pounds. He was a former running back at Tennessee and probably could have come out as a 2nd-round pick if he went ahead and went to the draft after his year at Tennessee. So he has great vision, great instincts, good ball-carrying abilities as well, and great breakaway speed. He needs some work on the route running. That's not too bad. We can fix that. But if you got Jalen Hurd and A.J. Brown in this year's draft, the 49ers wide receiver core, along with Kittle and then the running backs, Jimmy Garoppolo, will have plenty of weapons to work from. So that's the 6th round mock draft. Here we go. Nick Bosa, 1st round pick. 2nd round pick, the wide receiver A.J. Brown. 3rd round pick, the safety Darnell Savage. 4th was Corey Ballentine. 6th, the first of the 6, was Wyatt Ray. And then the last one was Jalen Hurd. What do you guys think? We always can go ahead and rip these mock drafts. I read all the comments. My last one you guys didn't like that much. But keep in mind, this isn't me just going and down a list and saying, oh, 4th round, who's the best 4th round player available? Oh, well, the Niners will take him. No, it's a website where they go ahead and draft. It's like an automated draft before you. So I only was able to pick who was left and who was left available, much like the Niners will be doing on draft night. So that's what we did. I really like Nick Bosa, I really like A.J. Brown, and I really like Darnell Savage. If those are the first 3 picks that the 49ers go ahead and grab, I think we're going to be looking just fine for this year's 2019 draft. Again, grade my draft. What do you guys think? You can always go down and comment down below and say, ooh, really good, Thomas A+, or ooh, really bad, Thomas D-. Either way, let me know. And we hope to have a lot more of these mock drafts as we get really close. We're almost there to the draft coming up at the end of April. For Chat Sports, I'm Thomas Mott signing off. Hope you enjoyed this episode.